Hey folks, get caffeinated here. I want to talk to people today about Texas and the border and what you can do to get involved. I don't know how well you can see that on the video. That is a picture of my grandfather, Charles Isaiah Faddis, looking like he could use a good bacon cheeseburger. I think I've showed that to you before, or one of the others of him. That's 1916. He's a member of the Pennsylvania National Guard, a sergeant, called to active duty, and that's a picture taken down on the Texas-Mexican border. It was a point in our history where the border was out of control. We were being invaded. Pancho Villa had come across the border, and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania stood up and sent troops down to the border to secure American territory and end an invasion. That's where we were in 1916. That's where the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was in its mindset. Pennsylvanians called to active duty left their families and did the right thing and went to the border to secure it. Not today. Today we find that Texas is taking point on securing the border and that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is nowhere to be seen. So let me just back up here and give you folks just a little bit of context on what's going on at the border very briefly. I've talked about this a lot. I've written about this a lot in a lot of different contexts, so I'm not gonna spend a huge amount of time on it, but let's just break it down to brass tacks. The Biden administration is not attempting to secure the border and failing. This is not incompetence. This is not lack of backbone, lack of spine, weak need, any of the other stuff that I read all the time. Wrong. Way too charitable. A policy of the Biden administration is we don't have a border. The policy of the Biden administration is open, unrestricted migration. We do not have a border. Now, the Congress of the United States didn't pass a law saying that. Nobody bothered to ask them. Nobody bothered to ask the people of the United States whether they thought that was a good idea. The Biden administration simply made that the de facto policy of the United States. And in fact, they operate a chain of camps across Central America. They're run by the United Nations, but you fund them to bring people to the border. And when people come to the border now, they don't try to run away from the Border Patrol. Forget that image. They turn themselves into the Border Patrol. In fact, they actively seek out Border Patrol because they all know that they will then be taken, processed, not just released almost immediately, but actually moved on into the interior of the country, again, at your expense, either in buses or commercial aircraft. So we are actively bringing people to the border. We are then taking them, functioning as welcome wagon, bringing them into the country, and at your expense, flying them, putting them on aircraft. Again, there are typically contractors and NGOs and charities involved in this, but they're all doing this on contracts for the federal government. In other words, you pay the bill. You pay the bill for the Border Patrol guy that helps the people cross the border, and you pay the bill for all those camps in Central America. And then you pay the bill for the airline ticket to fly this group of illegals, most of whom are young, military-age males, very few females, very few families. You fly them to cities all over the country, and then you pay again to house them and feed them and actively help them get work to take jobs from Americans. That's reality. That's what's happening. This is not failure. This is, from the standpoint of the Biden administration, success, because that is their intent and that is their policy. It's obviously illegal. It is obviously unconstitutional. It's been obvious for a long time that the Congress of the United States should stand up and do something about it. And what Texas has done now, in a nutshell, is say, look, We're putting our own people on the border, stringing razor wire, not letting people in. And since the Border Patrol has turned into Welcome Wagon, we're not giving them access because we're not. This is an invasion, and the federal government is aiding and abetting and sponsoring the invasion. And we refuse to participate, and we refuse to allow them to continue to harm national security. The Supreme Court has weighed in sort of a preliminary way, typical tangled legal situation, but the initial ruling from the Supreme Court is Texas has to give the feds access to the border, and Texas has more or less said, like hell. So there's a standoff. Texas is trying to control the border, and our federal government is sponsoring, aiding, and abetting and carrying out an invasion of the country. At least 25 states have stood up and had the spine to stand with Texas. A number of them have sent National Guard troops already to the border to stand along with Texas at the border, hold the line, end the invasion. That's where we are. This is a constitutional crisis of the first order, and it is obvious that the government in Washington, D.C. is acting in an unconstitutional, unjustifiable manner. That's where we are, people. Clear as day. Texas has drawn a line in the sand and stood up. 25 states are on board with them. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, predictable given Governor Shapiro, nowhere to be seen. So look, what we're calling on you to do is stand up where the state of Pennsylvania won't and do something concrete to help. Today, Monday, January 29th, convoys of concerned citizens and truckers and so forth are starting up, heading for the border. We will post below the website and all the contact information where you can find all the details on this. One of these convoys is starting in Virginia Beach, I believe. They're going to several locations on the border. You can actively participate. And just because you can't be in Virginia Beach today does not mean you can't participate, because as with the previous convoy that went across country to Washington, D.C., you can join this convoy all along the route. You can show up along the route and you can support them. You can jump in your car and meet them and drive a portion of the route with them. So the fact that you can't do that for the entire time, make the entire trip, doesn't mean you can't show up. Again, we post the links for this convoy of patriots headed for the border. If you can do that, if you got the money and the resources and you can take the time off for work, I strongly encourage you to do that. It makes a huge difference. Now let's assume, for the sake of argument, that you're not in a position right now to do that. How else can you help? Well, first you can donate to help cover the expenses of this convoy. Because all along the way where they're stopping and food and water are provided and facilities are provided for people to park, there's expense with this. So you can help defer that. Again, we'll post below links to the website so you can get online. Very easy once you're on the convoy site to see how you can donate. Very, very simple. So if you can't get in your vehicle and you can't join the convoy, and I encourage everybody that can to do that. If you can't, you can get on there and you can provide some kind of donation to help. It doesn't have to be huge, folks. This is not all about millionaires. You got $5 you can contribute. Contribute $5. As with all these volunteer things, as with the coalition itself, everybody's funding this out of their own pocket. There are no deep pockets, super secret societies behind any of this. It's just average people. So pony up. Okay. The other thing you can do is you can contribute directly to what's called Operation Lone Star. Again, we'll put the links below here. This is directly to the state of Texas. When you go to this link, you're going to see that you can contribute directly to the Texas National Guard. You can contribute directly to transportation. I think you can contribute directly to facilities. In other words, you can, again, it's very simple. You go on there, the easy links, easy for you to be able to contribute money directly to the state of Texas, to the citizens of Texas, to the National Guard guys that are standing up and doing the right thing. And you can steer, is what I'm saying, you can steer how your dollars are spent and where they go. Very self-explanatory. They've made it very simple. So the links to contribute to the convoy, the links for the information on the convoy, its route, its waypoints, all of this, if you want to participate, all of that up there, and all of this information on how to help out the Texas National Guard. Look, we've been in this fight for a long time, and we've kind of always known that you're coming to the point where it's going to take direct action by citizens, and somebody's going to have to say enough is enough, and we're not backing up. Well, the state of Texas has done that. The state of Texas has said, no, I'm not letting the Border Patrol continue to just function again as welcome wagon and bring people in and break the law and transport people around the state. And let me add, by the way, when I say that, that's the reality of what's happening. I'm sure that the average man or woman in the Border Patrol is just as disgusted with this situation as you and I are. I'm sure it just burns them up all day, every day, because they've dedicated their lives at great personal risk to controlling the border, and now they have a guy in the White House who is breaking the law and violating the Constitution. Texas has stood up against it. Other states are standing up against it. Our worthless governor's not standing up against it. You can. You can jump in. You can get in your car and go to the border and participate. You can contribute money to that convoy to help these folks with the horrific gas prices and lodging prices and other things. And you can contribute directly to the Texas National Guard, which we all know is just average guys and gals spending most of their time in civilian life who have been called up now and are out there on that border all day, every day. And they're doing it for you. So you can give something back. Group leaders in the coalition, I'm going to address this final point to you. We don't need just individuals. I mean, we need the individuals, but let's not leave this at just an individual effort. Let's not leave this as just hoping that the average Pennsylvanian does the right thing. There's over 100 of you groups out there across the Commonwealth. Every single one of you needs to step up, needs to push this message, needs to organize an event, needs to distribute flyers, needs to hand out handbills, and tell everybody in the state of Pennsylvania, I don't give a damn if Governor Shapiro can't find the moral courage to do the right thing. We have the courage to do the right thing, and we're going to do it. We're going to stand with Texas.